The wealthiest people on earth are quietly buying something most investors completely ignore. Not tech stocks, not crypto, not penthouse apartments in Manhattan or London. Dirt, specifically farmland. While the distracted public chases whatever happens to be trending on social media, billionaires like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos are aggressively positioning themselves in rural agricultural domains. They are not doing this out of a sudden passion for muddy tractors or traditional farming. They are doing this because they possess a deep, historically informed paranoia regarding global macroeconomic stability, inflation, and the alarming fragility of our modern, highly interconnected supply chains. This represents a massive generational wealth transfer occurring entirely outside the purview of mainstream financial media. To understand this phenomenon, we must adopt a completely different framework of value, shifting our focus away from quarterly earnings reports and toward permanent essential commodities. When sovereign wealth funds and ultra-high net worth individuals allocate capital, they operate on a timeline of decades, not days. They recognize that in a world defined by rampant currency debasement and geopolitical chaos, the only true safety lies in owning assets that cannot be printed, replicated, or destroyed by central bank policies or arbitrary government fiat. This brings us to the first and perhaps most surprising location in this global land grab, Paraguay. To the average retail investor, Paraguay might seem like an obscure, landlocked South American nation with little strategic significance. But to the billionaire class, it is an absolute gold mine of natural resources and undervalued potential. Paraguay sits directly atop the Guarani Aquifer, which is one of the largest and most pristine underground freshwater reservoirs on the entire planet. In a future where water scarcity becomes a primary driver of global conflict, controlling access to this massive subterranean ocean is an unparalleled strategic advantage. Furthermore, Paraguay offers an incredibly favorable regulatory environment for foreign capital, with low taxes, minimal capital controls, and a government that actively encourages agricultural investment. The soil is exceptionally fertile, capable of supporting multiple harvest cycles per year, which generates massive, predictable yields for institutional owners. Billionaires are quietly buying thousands of hectares here because they recognize a fundamental arbitrage opportunity. The cost of arable land in Paraguay is a fraction of what it costs in the American Midwest, yet the productive capacity and the long-term appreciation potential are profoundly similar, if not vastly superior, given the water security. The second country is on the opposite side of the world, serving a completely different psychological and strategic purpose. New Zealand. If Paraguay is the ultimate resource arbitrage, New Zealand is the ultimate doomsday hedge. For years, Silicon Valley elites have been quietly acquiring massive isolated estates across the South Island. New Zealand offers unparalleled geographic isolation, making it naturally insulated from the vast majority of global conflicts, nuclear threats, and sprawling pandemics. It is surrounded by thousands of miles of ocean, yet it boasts a highly developed, politically stable, and technologically advanced society with strong property rights protections. However, the appeal of New Zealand goes far beyond mere geographic isolation and bunker-building paranoia. It is a premium, high-yield agricultural powerhouse, renowned globally for its dairy, beef, and specialty crop exports. Wealthy investors are purchasing functional, profitable farms that not only serve as a remote sanctuary in the event of systemic global collapse, but also produce a steady stream of dividend-like income during times of peace. The New Zealand government has implemented stricter foreign ownership laws recently, but the ultra-wealthy easily bypass these hurdles by utilizing complex trust structures and forming joint ventures with locals. This dual utility, combining a permanent survival retreat with a highly profitable agricultural enterprise, makes New Zealand an irresistible asset for those who have more money than they could ever spend, but face a severe deficit of true security. The third country on this hidden map brings us back to South America, to a nation often described as the Switzerland of the continent, Uruguay. While neighboring countries frequently struggle with hyperinflation, political unrest, and unpredictable policy shifts, Uruguay remains a beacon of institutional stability, strong rule of law, and profound economic predictability. This makes it an incredibly safe haven. Uruguay has a long-standing tradition of respecting private property rights, and its legal framework treats foreign investors exactly the same as domestic citizens. There are absolutely no restrictions on the repatriation of profits, which is a critical factor for billionaires looking to park vast sums of money internationally. The land itself is predominantly characterized by vast rolling plains that are perfectly suited for large-scale cattle ranching and sustainable forestry projects. Timber, in particular, has become a massive draw for institutional investors in Uruguay, providing a literal growing asset that outpaces inflation and serves as a superb generational store. By investing in Uruguayan farmland and timberland, the global elite are effectively buying into a highly resilient, inflation-resistant asset class located in a politically neutral jurisdiction. It is a defensive play designed to protect purchasing power against the inevitable devaluation of fiat currencies. The fourth country on our list represents a massive, legally sound food supplier, uniquely positioned to feed a rising, increasingly hungry Asian middle class: Australia. The sheer scale of the Australian continent offers agricultural investment opportunities that are simply impossible to replicate anywhere else on Earth. We are talking about acquiring properties the size of nations. Australia is uniquely situated on the doorstep of Asia, a region experiencing an unprecedented demographic and economic explosion. As hundreds of millions of people transition into the middle class across China, India, and Southeast Asia, their dietary preferences are rapidly shifting toward higher protein consumption, specifically beef, dairy, and premium grains. Australia is perfectly positioned to meet this surging demand. Billionaires and sovereign wealth funds are aggressively acquiring massive Australian cattle stations and irrigated cropping operations because they understand that whoever controls the food supply for the Asian century will wield unimaginable economic and geopolitical power in the coming decades. Despite being the driest inhabited continent, Australian agricultural operations are highly sophisticated, utilizing cutting-edge water management technologies and drought-resistant crop varieties. Furthermore, the Australian legal system, based on English common law, provides absolute certainty regarding land tenure and water rights. In a world where emerging markets often carry massive expropriation risks, Australia offers the perfect combination of massive scale, proximity to exponential demand, and unbreakable legal protection. The fifth and final country is perhaps the most heavily undervalued European arbitrage play currently available to institutional capital: Romania. After the fall of communism, Romanian land was heavily fragmented. For decades, the agricultural sector in Romania suffered from massive underinvestment, terrible infrastructure, and a lack of modern farming technology. However, this historical neglect has created one of the most asymmetric investment opportunities on the planet. Romania contains some of the richest, most fertile black soil in all of Europe, perfectly suited for massive grain production. Today, highly capitalized investors are quietly entering the Romanian market, buying up thousands of small adjacent plots and consolidating them into massive, hyper-efficient, technologically advanced commercial mega-farms. This consolidation process unlocks tremendous value, instantly transforming inefficient peasant plots into institutional-grade assets. Furthermore, Romania is a full member of the European Union, which means investors benefit from massive agricultural subsidies provided by the Common Agricultural Policy. They also gain tariff-free access to the wealthiest single consumer market in the world. Buying land in Romania is essentially a sovereign food security play, allowing investors to acquire premium European agricultural capacity at a massive discount compared to land prices in France, Germany, or the Netherlands. But here is what most people completely miss when they look at this trend. They see the billionaires buying land and they mistakenly think this is about farming. It is not about farming. Farming is merely the mechanism. The paradigm shift occurs when you realize what they are actually purchasing. They are buying water. They are buying optionality. They are buying sovereignty. They are buying inflation protection. And they are buying scarcity. Let us break down these 5 real motives, because understanding this is the key to adopting the billionaire mindset. First, they are buying water. You cannot manufacture fresh water, and as climate patterns become increasingly erratic, regions with abundant, legally protected water rights will become the new oil fields. Land without water is just useless dirt. Land with secured, permanent access to deep aquifers or reliable surface water is a priceless, irreplaceable asset. Second, they are buying optionality. When you own thousands of acres of productive land, you possess a massive canvas that can be adapted to whatever the future demands. If the world needs food, you grow crops. If the world needs timber, you harvest trees. If the world needs green energy, you install massive solar arrays or wind turbines. If the world needs a safe haven, you build a massive compound. This ultimate flexibility is something no financial derivative or digital token can ever provide. Third, they are buying sovereignty. In an era characterized by increasing government overreach, massive digital surveillance, and arbitrary capital controls, owning productive land in a foreign, politically stable jurisdiction provides the ultimate escape hatch. It ensures that your wealth and potentially your physical safety is not entirely dependent on the whims of a single government or the stability of a single central bank. It is the ultimate expression of individual independence. Fourth, they are buying absolute inflation protection. Fiat currencies are designed to lose value over time. It is a mathematical certainty built into the very fabric of the system. When governments print trillions of dollars out of thin air, the prices of hard tangible assets inevitably skyrocket. Farmland is the ultimate inflation-resistant asset because its value is intrinsically tied to the production of human survival necessities. As the cost of living increases, so does the value of the food produced, which in turn drives up the value of the land itself. It is a perfect self-balancing economic hedge. Fifth, and most importantly, they are buying scarcity. Mark Twain famously advised people to buy land because they are not making it anymore. This simple truth remains incredibly profound. The total amount of arable land on Earth is finite and actually shrinking due to rampant urbanization, severe soil degradation, and catastrophic desertification. Meanwhile, the global population continues to expand, and the demand for higher quality diets is accelerating exponentially. We have a rapidly shrinking supply of productive land colliding violently with an exploding global demand for the resources that land produces. This is not a speculative tech bubble. This is basic, undeniable thermodynamics and demographic reality. So how does this grand geopolitical chessboard apply to you, the everyday investor who does not have $1 billion to deploy today? You do not need to fly to Paraguay and buy a 10,000-hectare cattle ranch to benefit from this profound macroeconomic shift. The secret is to adopt the underlying philosophy and utilize the accessible tools that exist today. You must bridge the gap between billionaire strategies and actionable mindset shifts. First, you must stop viewing your portfolio entirely through the lens of digital blips on a screen. You need to start aggressively allocating a portion of your capital toward hard, tangible, finite assets. This could mean investing in publicly traded agricultural REITs that own and manage vast farming portfolios. These specialized real estate investment trusts allow you to gain direct exposure to the appreciation of farmland and the steady income generated by agricultural leases, all without needing to ever drive a tractor or negotiate with foreign governments. Alternatively, you can utilize the growing number of fractional ownership platforms that have democratized access to agricultural investments. These innovative platforms allow retail investors to purchase small, fractional shares of specific income-producing farms in places like Australia, Uruguay, or the American Midwest. This provides exactly the same inflation protection and resource security that the global elite are currently hoarding for themselves. The key is to fundamentally change your psychological approach to wealth preservation. You must stop playing the game that the media wants you to play. Stop chasing the volatile, anxiety-inducing highs of the latest cryptocurrency craze or the newest artificial intelligence stock bubble. These are distractions designed to keep the masses occupied while the true masters of capital quietly secure the physical foundations of the future economy. You need to recognize that true generational wealth is never built by following the frantic, panicking herd. It is built by quietly positioning yourself in front of massive, inevitable, unstoppable demographic trends. It is built by owning what is essential. It is built by owning what is permanent. It is built by owning what is undeniably real. When the next major financial crisis hits, when the supply chains fracture again, when inflation returns with a vengeance, the people who own the dirt, the water, and the food will hold all the power. They will dictate the terms of survival. You have a choice right now. You can either remain distracted by the flashing lights of the casino, or you can step outside, look at the ground beneath your feet, and understand reality. Understand that the ultimate power play is not about acquiring more digital digits in a bank account that can be frozen or inflated away. It is about acquiring sovereignty over the physical world. It is about ensuring that no matter what happens to the global financial system, your wealth is anchored in the very soil that sustains human life. This is the exact strategy that has allowed the oldest aristocratic families in Europe to maintain their immense wealth and power across centuries, surviving world wars, hyperinflationary collapses, and countless political revolutions. They never sold their ancestral land and massive estates. Now, the modern tech billionaires and financial oligarchs are simply replicating this ancient proven strategy on a massive global scale. They are building their own modern fiefdoms across Paraguay, New Zealand, Uruguay, Australia, and Romania. They are preparing for a future that is vastly more uncertain, vastly more volatile, and vastly more resource-constrained than the recent past. You must prepare as well. The window of opportunity to acquire these hard assets at reasonable valuations is rapidly closing as more institutional capital floods into the space, driving up prices and locking out the everyday investor forever. The time to act, the time to permanently shift your investment paradigm is right now, before the reality of this global land grab becomes common knowledge. Because once the distracted crowd finally wakes up and realizes what has happened, it will be far too late. The elite will have already secured the exits, the water, and the food. You will be left completely exposed to the chaotic whims of a fragile system. Do not let that happen to your family. Protect your capital, protect your future, and protect your legacy by thinking like a sovereign entity. This is the ultimate, undeniable insider strategic advantage. Knowledge without immediate decisive action is worse than ignorance. It is a wasted opportunity. You now possess the blueprint. You know exactly what the smartest, most ruthlessly pragmatic investors on the planet are doing behind closed doors. You know the 5 countries they are targeting, and more importantly, you deeply understand the 5 fundamental reasons why they are doing it. It is not about muddy tractors. It is about absolute survival, permanent sovereignty, and the unbreakable power of owning finite resources in a world of infinite fiat currency. Now it is time for you to take control of everything. If you want to understand how the wealthiest people on earth protect and grow their capital before the crowd catches on, subscribe to WealthX. Because real wealth is not built by chasing what is trending. It is built by owning what is permanent.